Welcome everybody to another episode of The Trail Ahead. My name is Kyle,
My name's Caleb.
and I came down here to record this episode with him today. Gonna catch a baseball game in a little bit after this. I got a healing from Jacob Massey, who I've had on this podcast a few times today. Feeling absolutely amazing. So shout out Jacob if you're listening to this. And the big thing that we worked through today was receiving. And so on the way down here, and right now, we're just talking to Caleb about it. And I think receiving is so hard for a lot of us, and to be able to truly believe in our heart, in our body, in our mind that we are deserving of whatever we're receiving. And so that's kind of what I want to talk to you about today, how because we're on our path and healing and working through our stuff and just focusing on us, how because we're more present in our body and more just more in our body, that we realize even more of what we're deserving of.
Definitely. Yeah. To expand on that, I think we were just kind of touching down on the topic of what it means to be deserving, or what it means to be in the receiving mode. And I think we definitely think similar about that. It's like allowing ourselves to be open enough and learning the discernment of what we deserve and what we don't deserve, and being willing to kind of filter that and allow like what in the world is going to make it into our inner circle, or into our personal space. So you want to expand on that?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we are the ones that get to choose what people are in our lives, what situations that we put ourselves in, who we let into our heart, who we don't let into our heart.
Definitely.
And I think when there's just so many things that filter that, for say when you're numbing or you're drinking or you're just not in your body, you're not listening to yourself. And something that was recently in my life was like your anxiety is in your body to teach you something, and you have anxiety for a reason, right? And it was so interesting because I was talking to somebody and I feel like I was getting so many messages that it wasn't the right relationship for me, and I just wasn't listening. It wasn't for me. It was like pulling in different factors of my life and kind of mirroring back things that I didn't want to see. And I truly believe everyone comes into your life for a reason. I truly believe that they come to teach us lessons. And I think the biggest lesson that she taught me was I still have things to work on, right? And it's with my father and things like that are such deep wounds. So, people come into your life to teach you those things. But at the same time, it's up to us to realize and say, hey, like this isn't working for me. Which me in my old situations, in my old relationships, or old things that, people I was with, I wouldn't have said that. I wouldn't have said, hey, I deserve better. Or, hey, this isn't working for me. I really like you and I can see where this goes, but I shouldn't feel this way. That's because I've been doing the work and realizing and seeing that and believing that I'm deserving. But for honestly, Caleb, for most of my life, I haven't really felt that way. So that's like what today was about with Jacob. It's like realizing our self-worth. But then, okay, we can realize that and we can see the signs. Oh, this isn't for me, but we still don't listen to it. So that was another thing too, is I had to figure out, was like, why am I not listening to it? Because it's validating an old situation for me. It's triggering it's validation, but it's validating the wrong situations within my life. So it's just interesting, but
I mean, I ask myself that a lot. Like, if you have clarity on a situation, then why is it so hard to still make a decision? And like you said, if it's playing into if you're still gaining something from it, then it's really hard to make that shift until you have like 100% clarity. And I think like the pain that we get by giving something up and the pleasure that we get from holding on to it still and reliving that is just kind of going to be in place until we gain enough clarity and the message gets loud enough that we like have to make a change. And I think like, what comes to mind is the first year I was like really diving into meditation, because I would only do 15 minutes in the morning and 15 at night. And you have like a mantra, like, I feel safe in my body. and just super simple, but for 15 minutes you just focus on your breath and that's it. You know, if your mind wanders, you come back to the mantra, but you set the intention that, all right, I'm going to focus on the fact that I feel safe in my body. And I'm, for the next 15 minutes, really slowly just going to draw in and exhale, and draw in and exhale. And I feel safe in my body. And I feel safe in my body. And I feel safe in my body. And it was like the stuff that came up so aggressively was like, especially about deserving, because it was like, who is this person behind this whole experience? And I didn't feel like I deserved to heal. I didn't feel like I deserved to let go of the stuff that I've been carrying, and I didn't feel like I was worth like anything. It was so crazy, and all of a sudden it was like I'm feeling this fear and this shakiness and this stuff that feels like a 6-year-old child, or like literally how you feel when your parents are fighting. I don't know if you can think that far back.
No,
or like
I do.
Feel, dude. Yeah, so it was like this very raw, visceral experience that I was just like, oh, that's like a child. That's like the heart rate, just like the quivering, just the innocence, and like just the energy. It was like a child, and it took me back to being young and afraid and sort of hopeless in that way. And all of a sudden, after, you know, it wasn't overnight, but I would say in a few weeks or maybe like a month of just meditating and just doing half an hour a day with different mantras, I felt like I had enough compassion for myself to be like, okay, you definitely don't deserve to be afraid. You don't deserve to hold on to those emotions alone, and you don't deserve to suffer alone, you know? So in a month, what seemed like had been holding me back, or something that was rooted in me since childhood, in my early 20s, all of a sudden came up to the surface, and it was like very, very obvious that I didn't feel like I deserved help. And, you know, in a very short period, I dissolved that illusion, where it was like, no, you definitely do. Like, you're worth figuring yourself out. And ultimately, like, at the end of the day, you wouldn't want anybody to suffer. Like, you wouldn't, if you're a decent human being, I don't think you would want suffering for anybody. I mean, obviously there's shitty people in the world, and I like to think that everything finds its balance elsewhere. You don't need to be like you don't need to decide like, or judging who deserves, you know, to be in pain or not. But in general, I think most of us just want peace and happiness and a good living experience for everybody, always. So where on our path do we decide that we ourselves like aren't worthy of that? And it's such a weird thing to think about. I could think of a few things, but I'm curious about you.
I think it really stems. I was just going to ask you the same question. That's funny. No, I think honestly, it really stems from my father. I think that because I was so wanting him in my life, and so wanting a father figure in my life, that he never showed up, that I wasn't deserving of love.
So it was like the external validate, like nobody ever proved to you that you were, so you believe you were.
Yeah. And especially at a young age. And I think that just that lostness of having no father, and having separated parents, and going back and forth on weekends, and just, I never got validation, right? And so I've never seen love either. I don't know what true love is, right? Because of my parents. So I'm having to teach myself that. But I think what's so important for us to remember is, even because our parents, or, you know, we didn't get validation from our husband or wife or mom or dad or whoever is listening to this situation, is we are deserving, but it's so hard to truly embody that.
Yeah.
Like, even though we think, okay, I'm so deserving of love, I'm so deserving of a good relationship, I'm so deserving of a best friend, I'm so deserving of a good job, I'm so deserving to be happy and to feel loved, and to have good friends, to have good people, but to truly believe in that and to embody it is so difficult. And I think it's hard for us to believe it because of past selves, or you know, situations that we didn't feel validated or heard or felt. are listened to.
Underperformance. It's huge.
You know, and I feel like it was so interesting. I was listening to a podcast a while ago. It was a psychologist, and she said, I want you to look in the mirror and high five yourself every day. And I did it, and it really did make me feel good. She was like,
high five in the mirror?
Yeah. Nice. She's like, because in life, whenever time you did a good job, you get high fived. Yeah. Whether if you played sports or listening to this, every time you hit a shot, high five. You know, by your teammates or your coach or whatever. Yeah. Anytime you did something good, you got a high five. Yeah. She's like, validate yourself. But it's so hard, man, because to truly believe it. And like today, it really brought up a lot of stuff. I'm like on the table with Jacob, and I'm like, man, like I haven't felt deserving because I think my life honestly came out. I was numbing for so long and lost, and I didn't think I deserved to find true love or to be happy or to have this life that I have. Like literally yesterday, I'm driving back from paddleboarding, and the sun's coming down and the windows are open in my car, and I just felt so blessed. Yeah. I felt so blessed, and I was sitting there saying, I deserve this. And I'm finally feeling like my chest is opening. Yeah. I finally feel like I'm being more in my body, you know, but it's because I'm finally believing it. Yeah. But I felt, and I'm sure people listening to this, I felt so undeserving for so long because why me? Yeah. Why should I deserve something? You know, I wasn't the best friend or best sometimes in relationships or best just being a man in my life. Yeah. But does that make me any less deserving than where I am now? Yeah. No, but you have to work through it, right? You have to accept your mistakes as men, accept where you were wrong, and then also start healing, start opening up your heart, stop running and really dive deep. And then you start like, it's almost like I'm going to use an Arizona reference right now, like a prickly pear right now. They're blooming, like they're starting to sprout, they're opening, like they're finally spread open, like, wow, there is like another side to this. There is like, I am deserving. But it's hard when we're in it, especially when we really like somebody or we like a situation and we want them to be in our life, but we don't feel validated or heard or respected or seen. Yeah. And we know it's not for us. Our anxiety, our body is telling us no, but we're like, our mind is telling us yes. But then we also are to be strong enough and saying, hey, like this isn't working for me. It could be a mother, a relationship like my dad, like, hey dad, I love you. Yeah. You're my father. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, but you're not listening to me. You're not hearing me. You're not validating me. You're not seeing me. And it's up to us to create boundaries with that. And so how about you? When have you, like, where do you think it stems from not being?
I mean, same. Yeah. Probably parents, probably, you know what? They were fucking busy though, and I was the youngest of 6, so I think like not having that time to like be seen and interact in a deep way and be like, hey, look, like I see what you're doing good. Like I as a kid, I feel like, I don't know, it's tricky because I don't feel like our culture really teaches you like how to know your spirit, like how to know yourself. Like you're kind of just pushed through this system where it's one size fits all, and they don't play to people's individual strengths. Like it's really up to the individual, hopefully, like to discover that for yourself. And it fucking sucks because it's really you don't really get to know yourself, you know, in that way. You don't have like there's no roadmap, there's no manual to like this is you, that's them, and this is what you should focus on. It's just doesn't work like that. So I think the frame that I had growing up was always like, I'll feel good about myself when I am doing what everybody else is doing and feel good about it. And I could never bring myself to feel good about it because it was never my thing. I just, you know, so it was like horrible grades in school, fighting with my teachers, never getting along. Like, dude, socially, it was always a mess. So, and I think when that's the kind of feedback that you're looking for, is that like you'll feel deserving when you can fit in and when you're, you know, part of that mold, then it's like, you're just set up to fail. So that was kind of it though. And I think I was relying on my parents to help correct that and help show me to be like everybody else or something, you know. So I think the deserving factor at a pretty young age was like, okay, like you're not really deserving because you're not achieving, you're not getting good grades, you're not making friends, you're not doing what everybody else is doing, and you're not even having fun. So it was like, for me, I think that was something at a pretty early age that I was like, cool, like this something has to give, because it's not really it just doesn't make sense to try to fit in here, you know. So
I think that's like such a society thing too, is go to college, get a degree, get good grades,
Sure, yeah.
drive a nice car, have a nice house, have a pretty wife,
Yeah.
and then you'll be good.
Yeah.
Like you've made it,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, and those things aren't inherently like, there's nothing wrong with any of that. If you find something that you love doing and you could get a degree for it, great. Like if you fall in love with a pretty girl and you want to marry her, like fuck yeah. At the same time, it's like those aren't preeminent. It's not like school and the friend group and college and buying a house and having a garage filled with shit is like that. It was never the focal point. It's like that's the those are just like elements of living in a culture. Like it has almost nothing to do with being human. Like that won't teach you anything about fulfillment. And really, it's like I feel like we're so far from that stuff. Like we're so far from things that matter. But we could really idolize somebody with like a really badass car, and we don't really know like anything about a broken heart or like a messiah, like things that are really powerful and beautiful and different, and it's kind of like peripheral. I don't know. So it's, for me, it's returning to something that made sense for me. It was like getting quiet and feeling what I was experiencing was the only way out of feeling alienated or ostracized, because everybody is feeling something. And that is a common thread that we are all experiencing. It's like we all have a heart, we all are born and live and die. We all experience these emotions on some level, and it's kind of like the common thread of our humanity. So yeah, deserving to feel yourself and deserving to feel connected to others, I think kind of gets skewed in that process of like wanting to be like everybody else, because we're just not geared the same, I think.
No, I don't think I know.
Yeah.
Truly. I think, but to sit here across from you to say that today, I mean, not only, Caleb, did this podcast feel so out of reach a year and a half ago, the man sitting in front of you right now felt not even in this lifetime.
Yeah.
Like I was going down a bad path. I was numbing. I was running from myself, running from everybody else, running from my biggest thing, myself. Just like, and I think I was running from so much because I was scared of like judgment, and I was really super bullied as a kid, so I didn't want to be like seen being low and all this stuff. And I feel like now it's so beautiful to see we're different. Me and you, if it's growing up in Sedona, I was just listening to this podcast today about how the old conscious versus new consciousness.
Yeah.
Old consciousness, like our parents, older generation, they said millennials were the first people to have this, but old consciousness was like, if you can't see it, feel it, the five senses, it's not here. It's not in existence. And now our newer consciousness is we can feel it. We can feel things. Like I get chills. I go sit under a tree. It might sound hippie to a lot of people, but to people on here resonating with it, it's true. They can understand it.
Yeah.
Like we can feel things like energetically. If I walk into a building, I can feel if it's a good energy or bad energy. Like I walk into Jacob's place today and I said, dude, this place feels amazing. He just said, really? You're just saying that? I'm like, no, honestly. He's like, I just did this thing and I like this prayer. Anyways, I can feel things, so can you. I can see people's energies, I can feel people's energies. I'm very empathic. I've seen ghosts as kids, I mean, as a kid, everything.
Yeah.
We are different. But because we're very empathic, we can feel people. We can feel when people are lying, or when people are, not deceiving is the wrong word, but not meeting us. And I think that's where it's honestly, where I started drinking and numbing was because I didn't want to feel.
Yeah.
It was too much. Like,
yeah, definitely. That's the other part of it. Yeah. Feeling and man, feeling like the only way you could be present or like live your life is like numb. It's so wild, but I think that becomes it's almost like popular too though. Because it's like,
well, it is. I mean, honestly, if you ask friends to go out, most people, even if you ask someone on a date, they're gonna want to go out. Oh, let's go grab a drink.
Yeah.
Like, it's so normalized. Let's go grab a drink. Let's go to happy hour. Let's go to the bar. And like, I truly have lost so many friends, as I'm sure you have, in the last year because I don't go out. I'll go out and have a club soda once in a very blue moon.
sure. Yeah.
But if I go snowboarding, I'm not going to get blacked out and go snowboarding. You know, like, it's not a relationship that I'm going to want. I'm not going to want someone. I don't mind if someone drinks, but I don't want someone blacking out.
For sure. Yeah.
Like, you know, I don't want to. But that's because I've been embodying it more in my body. Is I'm realizing that that's a boundary I have to have with other people.
Yeah.
And sometimes we all listen to knowing this, people don't like boundaries.
Yeah.
People don't like when you stand up for yourself and say, hey, this isn't working for me, or hey, I don't want you to do that.
Yeah.
Or hey, like, I really love you, but I can't have you in my life.
Yeah.
You know, like with my father, he was never respecting boundaries, ever, ever, ever. And so it got to the point where, like, if you're not going to respect my boundaries, I'm sorry, but you can't be in my life.
Yeah.
But because I'm embodying myself and working on my path, gives me the opportunity to say, hey, this isn't working for me, which honestly, man, it would have never happened. You know, I would have never said, hey, in a past relationship, I really love you, but this isn't working for me. That would have never came out of my mouth. Or the words, I deserve better, would have never came out of my mouth. But because of it, doing the work and seeing what kind of man I'm becoming, I can see what I deserve, what I want in a relationship, what I want out of somebody. I want someone I can grow with and pick ideas off each other and lift people up.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, Caleb, it's not up to us to save people. I feel like
For sure.
you're the same way as me. We love to save people.
Yeah.
We love to friends or people. We're always, but at the same time, it pulls us away from ourselves. It pulls us back from who we're trying to become. We have no energy left for us. And we're trying to raise somebody else up so much that we're losing ourselves, and we're still working on ourselves, just like everybody is. Everyone is healing and still healing. No one's healed, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's where, but it's like a boundary within ourselves to realize we are so deserving, like this whole podcast, to come back to it, but we are so deserving of it, but it's so hard to realize it.
Yeah.
I truly think it's so hard to sit here and say, I deserve to be loved. I deserved to feel happy.
100%. Yeah. And I think you touched on something that's like, it's tricky because especially when you start on a healing journey and you start to feel lighter and you do get clarity, or you do have more resources or whatever you've cultivated for yourself that you're so willing to give to other people because you understand what it looks and feels like to be struggling, or you know what it feels like to be stuck. In a way, it's like it's tricky, but you're sort of depriving somebody else of their process or their pathway of liberation by offering them help. So in a way, you have to ask yourself, like, what do they deserve? And it's not to bypass the messages that they need for their most growth. Like, because really, like, we're all being constantly bombarded with, okay, we should talk about receiving after this too. I think we're always being bombarded by the messages that we need for the next step on our path, or what we need for our personal growth. And by bailing somebody out or enabling their behavior, it's like you're also keeping them from growing into the next iteration of themselves, because they're getting messages, they're being led and taught by life and their guides or whatever the fuck that is asking them to take the next step in their life all the time. And you know that, like, I know that about my path, you know that, you know what it looks and feels like. And whether it's like just an obvious recognition of your circumstances, or if it's like a legitimate download, where you get like a very clear message that, hey, what I'm doing right now isn't working, and it's probably because of a self-inflicted behavior or pattern or something that I need to take accountability for. you know what that looks and feels like. And that corrective course of action that goes from being out here to being like, cool, that's something in myself that I need to fix, is a very personal journey. And that comes with a lot of messages and a lot of self-realizations, and building the focus to build the self-awareness to be able to see like, okay, cool, it's me, it's not them. This part is internal. That's something I can correct. That's not something that I'm ever going to grow past by letting other people do the work for me. That kind of stuff.
I think no one, before we talk about receiving, I was going to tap on this. I remember talking to Kimberly, I've talked about this before on a podcast before this, but I quit for 90 days and I was like, okay, so I think I'm good, you know, I'm done numbing, whatever, you know, I feel like I'm healed, like I felt great. And I asked her, I went to, you know, Denver, and then I had like a, you know, I was drinking and partying, and then, and then I started kind of slipping again. And I remember I came to her office and I asked her, I said, she's like, I could see you were going to slip. And I said, can I ask you why you didn't help? Or like say, hey, maybe you shouldn't go. Or because after Denver, it was like, you know, came back home and she's drinking and like numbing out again. And she said, she said in the beginning, she said it so beautifully. In the beginning of my practice, I tried to save everybody.
Yeah.
I could see it. I could feel it. They were going to do something. They were going to go home. They were going to, whatever the situation is, I could see it in them. But it's not my job to save them. They have to, hopefully they'll fall. And if they do, they won't fall too hard.
It's their journey.
It's their journey. Yeah. And then they'll come to me and we can work through it.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully they won't get in a car and get a DUI and kill somebody. You know, hopefully it won't be so bad. Yeah. But like, hopefully they'll come to me and say, hey, like, okay, you know, and the same thing with Ben. I was canceling appointments, you know, at my therapist. And Ben said, like, why do you think I didn't call you to reschedule? It's up to you. It's your journey. Yeah. And because it was so interesting. I remember like having a little bit of anger about that, but then sitting there saying, I remember like taking a step back and saying, you're right. Yeah. Like I had a friend ask me like, how, like her brother was a terrible alcoholic. And I was like, hey, how can I help him? You know what? I said, you want my honest opinion? You're not going to like it. I'm going to be honest with you. She's like, of course. I said, nothing. I said, you can pray for him. You can send him good energy. You can, you know, just, that's all you can do. It's up to him to make the decision, like you just said. Like it's up to that person to want to change their life. Yeah. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it. That's just old saying, but it's so true. Yeah. You know, like you could want something for somebody, whether a relationship, a father, a mother, a friend, and you can talk to them, but it's up to them to heal.
100%.
And it's up to them to realize that they're able to receive. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Receiving. On receiving, I think this is so big because if you're not tuned in with yourself, it's like, God, it's so easy to be lost, or I guess just stay lost. But really, it's very simple to tune into yourself. And I think just something as simple as like turning off your phone, like making some tea, lighting a candle, just like setting an ambiance that allows you to just calm down for a minute. And just being quiet and tuning into the breath and just being honest with yourself. And I don't think it has to be a painful process every time. I think a big reason why we don't slow down and we don't tune in is because we're afraid of the pain that's waiting for us when we stop to acknowledge a truth. And it's like, it's so the opposite. It's like the real pain comes from avoiding being still, avoiding tuning into ourselves, avoiding being honest with ourselves, so that the issue gets so bad that it becomes something that could be catastrophic in your life, because that happens too. Like if you're living in constant avoidance, it's like it's always going to be there. And yeah, some things you can't figure out overnight. Some things are pretty daunting to look at. Some things are existential, and there aren't like immediate good answers for it. But it's like by allowing yourself to slow down, be honest with yourself about what's emotionally driving you, it allows you to kind of focus on those things. You're good. Yeah, go for it.
So I think it's really hard for us to receive. Like I think I talked to you about it. I went on a hike and I feel that I was like in a really low place, and I remember like asking Spirit and like saying, "Hey, walk with me as I go on this journey."
Yeah.
And I remember like I think I texted you or FaceTimed you, and then when I went on the journey. But for me, it was so hard to receive like messages maybe I didn't want to hear. But I went out there, and it's so hard to, like you said, not run from our stuff. So like I sat there, and I remember talking to my inner child and like seeing where I had gone and how far I've gone, and the old Kyle, like who was bullied and who's lost and all these things. But then sitting there and really tapping into it and realizing and listening to it, like, what is that Kyle trying to say? Like, he's lost, he's hurt. It's okay, so listening to it. And I was crying a lot. I cried a lot that whole hike and that whole journey. But it was so empowering to walk away and realize, wow, I received those messages. Like, I remember looking up, and there was like a face in the rock. The eagles were flying around. Like, I was on this whole journey. It was just like, but if I wasn't asking for it, right, and saying, "Hey, help me, walk with me," and if I wasn't open to receiving it, that situation would have never happened. But it was the most beautiful, profound day, and it was hard. It was really hard. It's really hard to like look at ourselves or old selves, and to listen to our inner child, or anything that, an old relationship that we were running from or numbing from, or we don't want to be in, or we were in. But for me, it was one of the hardest hikes, because I really sat there and dug up everything, and it was quiet. There's no phones. There's no cell phone service. A couple weeks ago.
Okay.
So it was that time where I felt, really low. Yeah. I was like, I said in this podcast like a little bit ago that it was hard for me to. I've like had recently posted a podcast because I felt distant, bro. I felt disconnected from myself. I felt disconnected to Spirit. I felt disconnected from God. I felt disconnected to myself. I was walking like this. I wasn't walking with my chest out, embodied in myself. And I remember just going on this hike and asking, walk with me. Yeah. But that's a conscious decision, because I'm sitting there wanting it, right? Yeah. It's so easy. I mean, I'm not perfect. I get up in the morning and my phone's next to me and my alarm goes off. I'm gonna grab my phone, check my Instagram, check my mail, check my work emails, whatever it is. And I'm like, no, like I talked to Jacob about it today. He said 2 to 5 minutes, do breath work. Yeah. 2 to 5 minutes. That's all you need to do. If you like, you don't have 15 minutes to meditate, go outside, see in your body, say, I'm confident, say what you want. Yeah. But it's so hard to sit there in silence. Yeah. We get in the line at the grocery store or a coffee shop, and there's a long line. What do? We grab our phone, look at our phone every time. I'm guilty of it too. Yeah. It's because we're always so distracted. So that's a lesson that I'm learning right now, is to stop distracting. And he even said, like, if you would just dive in and receive, he's like, dude, your power would just shoot up. Yeah. But I'm scared. Yeah. It's scared of the unknown. Yeah. It's scary to like just to believe in something that is so exponential that you don't believe that you're so deserving of, because you haven't felt it. Yeah. If that makes sense. Yeah, like definitely. It's the unknown. It's the unknown. Like this, and it's so interesting because I mean, it's unknown. I haven't had it in this life. Yeah. Yeah. And so it's hard to sit there and say I'm deserving of it, but truly believe it. I'm deserving of love. I'm deserving of a good job. I'm deserving of good friends. And honestly, man, I'm so blessed to have you in this in my life. I love you so fucking much. Seriously, Caleb. And I have Jacob, and I have, my roommate's amazing, Amanda, and like I feel I have a house. I have a car. I can go camping when, like I have a good life. Yeah. And I'm so blessed, but it's still, there's that, like you said, like there's still always that exponential, like you might not have all the money that you want, or the car that you want, or the girlfriend you want. And it's always ways of us like looking for like outer acceptance, instead of just sitting in ourselves and being like, I'm enough. Yeah. Like where I'm at right now, sitting at this table in Scottsdale with this camera, sitting next to you, like I'm enough. Yeah. But it's so fucking hard to actually believe it, right? Yeah. And we make every excuse like why we're not enough. Like I just said, don't have the car or the house or whatever it could be. We're always having excuses than just sitting in ourselves and being like I journaled today. It's in my car. I actually would love to read it. But I basically just said like to myself, like, Kyle, like, you're so worth it.
Yeah.
You're so worth the love. You're so worth to find someone that
Mm-hmm.
loves you, that can meet you where you want to be met, you know, who you can travel with and grow with. And you've like, you should be so proud of the man that you've become and the man that you've done the work. Like, Caleb, I feel like I can call you for anything, right? I feel like you give,
100%.
you know, you give me the best advice all the time. But this, you know, for you, man, like, you're doing the work too.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob's doing the work, right? Like but it's really fucking hard. It's really hard to do the work and to take that next step because it's scary. It's scary to heal. It's scary to go to the unknown. It's scary to, like, you know, not follow the sheep and not follow what everyone else is doing. Everyone else is numbing and drinking and partying and smoking weed, and it's like I don't want that anymore, right? I don't want a relationship that's revolved around that. I don't want sex that result like, you know, revolves around that. I don't want friendships that revolve around that. And it's like we're breaking the norm.
Yeah.
And so it is scary, but we're so deserving of it. And I just journaled about that today. I was just like, thank you.
Yeah.
Everyone come into your life for a reason.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you for the lessons. Thank you for where I'm at. And, you know, just be proud.
Yeah.
And it's all going to work out. And, like, let it be. But it's so hard to let it be.
Yeah. I mean, it's a daily practice, dude.
Yeah.
And
It is.
I think part of meditation is like learning how just to build the focus to be able to hold an intention long enough. And, you know, when you're meditating, it's like stillness is the intention. But when you're being mindful, it's like you can focus on anything. But in reality, it's like you have to focus on it long enough to see where you're at and see it through to where you want to be. And I think just what you said is profound. If you're able to just be in it and to experience what it looks and feels like, to recognize that you're fucking whole, like just right here as you are, without all the accomplishments, without the money, without everything that you want and desired, even though you want those things and it's not really separate from you because that's an extension of your conscious awareness, like you're asking for those things to come into fruition. Like that's something you're putting energy towards. Fine. But right now, who you are, where we're at right now, just to make that the intention, like I'm enough right now. But like I dare you to do that. I dare you to stay with that every single day until you wake up one day and you're like, dude, I'm enough. And it probably won't be after you get everything that you think you need to feel whole. Like it'll probably be a lot sooner and without anything. Because that's how life works. But if you have that intention, then I feel like it's also like it comes with a responsibility to keep it alive and to nurture it long enough to see it through. And I have a lot of those. I have a lot of like, you know, revolving around embodying my values or my self-worth or how much love I give myself. And then especially around other people. Like I want to see God in every person I see, in every person that I meet. And that means that I have to know God. And that means I have to know myself. Like know thyself, and you see the creator within. And it's just this forever unfolding spiral of awareness that you're able to know yourself deeper and therefore appreciate and love other people deeper and always wanting the best for everybody that you meet. And that's the intention. But I think we could definitely go in any direction with that. I'm wondering, like, when it comes to other people, how you approach worth, like, especially with strangers and people you meet. Like, what do you think about when it comes to receiving and worth for other people?
I think that I try to be the earth for every single person,
Be the earth.
which is so interesting. Like, that wasn't even a concept in my life.
Yeah.
I wasn't even the earth for myself, let alone how could I ever be earth for somebody else. I remember going to New York and just asking people, you know, how their day is, and they would look at you like, what do you want? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I just try to give love to every single person because I just try to make their day.
Yeah.
If I'm in line at a grocery store or a coffee shop, talk to them, make their day. Like, everyone is just so in a hustle and a rush, and like they're just mean. Like, I work in the service industry, so do you, and people are ruthless. People can be really, it's like either they're really, really nice and they love you and they're happy to be there and they're like, you've made their day, or they're like having the fucking worst day and it's your fault. But, you know, I think if we just love each other and we create that, you know, it's like I just told about this podcast today. It said, if we all just loved our neighbor, we would basically die for them. This world would be so beautiful.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
Yeah.
And I thought about that for a second. You know, like you have like you might not like somebody because they don't believe in something that you don't believe in, or they might have a different political view or whatever it could be. But there's still like love them. Still love them as just as much as they probably hopefully love you. But it's it's hard. It's hard to be the earth, but that's my goal. It's like going to work and I try to be the earth for all my staff.
Yeah.
I try to be the earth for my friends and everyone else around me. But at the same time, it's a hard journey. Like I spend a lot of money every month to focus on my mental health.
Sure.
Instead of drinking and going out and like numbing and partying, that was this super short fix. It's you know, healings, it's acupuncture every week, it's seeing Kimberly, it's seeing Ben, my therapist, you know, it's seeing my friends, talking to my friends, like. But if we don't see the good in other people, how do we see it within ourselves at the end of the day?
Sure.
You know, everyone is going like, you know, what's interesting. Remember that guy, Michael, that I talked about on our men's group, the guy that said, don't ever judge anyone. Everyone's on their own journey.
Yeah, totally.
He came to my speakeasy.
Nice.
And I talked to him for a long time. And I'm going to have him on this.
Nice.
But it's really interesting. He said, we closed the circle and he said, don't ever judge anybody else. Everyone's on their own journey.
Yeah.
And everyone's having their own struggles. People on the street you're seeing, people driving next to you, everyone's dealing with their own stuff.
Yeah.
So if we just walked every day with that and just, if we were talking to someone for 5 or 10 seconds out of their day with 24 hours, if we can just raise the vibration and their happiness in that 5 or 10 seconds, even just saying, I love to say I appreciate you, bro, you could change that whole person's day. But you
100%,
know, when people say that at me at work, like, I appreciate you. I'm like, okay, I really appreciate you too. You know what I mean? It's not, everyone can say thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you. But if you say, I appreciate you, I hope you have a great rest of your day. It was really nice to meet you. Whatever it could be, even if it's 5 seconds, like you can change someone's whole day in that 5 seconds.
Does it still work if they just say appreciate you, or they have to say I appreciate you?
I think both work.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, and I think I would love to have the next episode on capacity. I talked about that about with Jacob, but we have to release, which is interesting. I'm working on personally right now. Is we have to release old ways or old Kyle or our inner child to create capacity for the new Kyle, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that should be a great next episode podcast because we need to, in order to create space for new space, we have to release the old space. Yeah. And that is another.
Yeah, that's a cool concept.
It's a really hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Because it's scary.
It is,
because that might be what you know.
Yeah.
You might only know this like sad, you know, depressed or, you know, anxiety, or you might only like, you know, a job that you're in, a relationship that you're in that like kind of feeds you, that's not healthy. Yeah. And if you release it, you're in the unknown, you know, like.
Yeah. The great potential space. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I like the analogies with the mystery of life, like the everything came out of mystery, and especially like the analogies with the riverbanks, man. Like the life is the river moving away, and the only hangups that we have in life are really when we're trying to stay caught up on the riverbank. So we're trying to hold on to something instead of being in the flow, not expecting that what we found or what we experienced is going to be more of downstream, because we don't know anything. But that's the point. Like we don't know.
It's scary. Like I was talking to Kimberly about that, about like me personally, how my father I didn't have control over. I had no control over that, right? And so I feel a lot of anxiety from that. So if I don't have control over how the restaurant runs, or things like, you know, I don't have control over, I don't know, like the restaurant or my job or whatever it could be, right? Or my finances, I get anxiety from it because I'm like, the biggest thing in my life I didn't have control over. It just went to shit, and then my anxiety came in. Not saying that like in a relationship controlling anything like that. I'm saying like personal, like life. Yeah. And so now it's like it's the same thing. It's like let it be. Like just to know that it's gonna go with the flow of the ocean or the river or whatever you want to say, and it's gonna be okay is so beautiful. And but it is scary because, like I said, it's the unknown.
Yeah.
You know, so I really do appreciate you.
Yeah. Like
Thank you for always taking the time.
Hell yeah.
If you resonated with this, please like, share it, comment, reach out to me. I would love to have you on. I think we're really creating a circle of men who can be vulnerable, feel it's a safe space to be vulnerable. I think men truly, really, really need this. And I really do appreciate you. You've been on a lot of episodes, and this is how our conversations are over the phone. So it's smooth, easy on this, but people listening to this, just remember you're worth it. You're loved. You're like literally so worth it. You're deserving of love and happiness, and to be in a healthy relationship and have good friends around you, and just to live a good life. Like, you are truly so deserving of that. Everyone is. And, I love you. I appreciate you tapping in, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
Cheers, guys.